It is Monday, the 10th of February 2025, and the European market is just about to open. I've done my research. I'm ready to start a new week with my mechanical entries and my mechanical strategy. I have quite a few positions for today planned. Not sure if I'm going to take them all. It will be also dependent on price action, on size of the bars, of course, as well. But we will start with the completion of the first 15-minute bars in gold and the Dow. And we will see from there. Also, the first 5-minute bar in the UK 100 will be relevant, as per usual. We will take a look at that as well. And then I will fill you in as we go on other entries. So this is me journaling my FTMO challenge, trying to pass the challenge using mostly mechanical entries, placing buy and sell orders above and below specific candles at specific times on specific time frames according to my research, and trying to document all of that. So there's the open just now. I'm gonna let price do its thing. We'll be looking at the first 5-minute bar in the UK 100 if it's a positive or a negative. We will sell below it if it's a positive. We will buy below it if it's a negative. We will use an 18-point stop loss with an appropriate target set at an appropriate level. So with that in mind, I will pause you now and I will bring you back when we are closer to completing the first 5-minute bar in the UK 100. So we have completed the first 5-minute bar in the UK 100. I will just place an appropriate sizing here for our entry. So we will be selling right below this. I think I can go just a bit higher here. And I'm placing my sell right below the opening 5-minute bar. This is a very well researched entry. And it's working okay right now. It's not working super well, but it's still working well enough that it's worth taking. So when we enter here, if we get a fill, of course, I'm going to be targeting probably somewhere right below Asia session. Don't know if I should go for a higher target than that. We are in a bull run. We've been rallying for so long that I don't particularly like to hold or hope for too much on the short side here. But I'll reassess perhaps when we get a fill. Looking at ATR here, comparing it to Friday's open, it's quite similar. Let me make this smaller so we can see further back. So comparable ATR. Let's look 2 days before. 2 days before ATR was higher. 3 days before it was also higher. So we are in a bit of a lower ATR environment. I'm taking that into consideration as well. Now, while I'm waiting for a fill here, I'm switching to the 15-minute time frame because my next entries will be based on the first 15-minute bars. Like I said, in gold, in the Dow, and in the UK 100 as well. Quite a strong open in the DAX. For the DAX today, I'm only interested in the fifth 15-minute bar to start with, and then the second 15-minute bar in the US session. So that's quite some way off. And I'll wait for a fill here, or else I will just wait for the completion of the first 15-minute bars, and then we will apply our orders. So let's see. Okay, I am updating you here. I waited for the first 15-minute bars to complete, and I've placed my orders. I had to focus on placing the orders, and I couldn't start recording. This price was very close to filling, and it did fill in the UK 100. Now, I am obviously completely aware that we are at previous day high and also at the high of Friday's London session, but we are following a mechanical strategy, so I'm not going to be afraid to go long at what we can perceive as resistance, because we do have all the arguments. First, this entry is super researched and it works more often than not. And secondly, we are in an uptrend, so we do have the trend working in our favor as well. So let's see, I've placed the stop right below. It's about $555 risk. I am keeping the sell order in place as well, because it is from a different entry, and that is available pretty much all day for the first 5-minute bar. And as a target here, checking my spreadsheet where I research all of these entries. So I've made 27, 15, 31, 19, 20, 25, 13. When I won on it, so let's see the lower end of that range, considering we're in a bit lower ATR. Let's just see where it lands. So just dragging this to 15 points. 15 points would be here. We've made 31 points once, 27 points once, then 20, 15, 25. So I think we could perhaps aim for close to 20 and make it a 1-to-1. And I think that is fine. We'll reassess, of course, if, say, we get close and price starts to slow down. So that is a fine target. We did get filled short in gold here. Deleting that. Placing the stop here. Let me just show you. So it's right above. You will notice that on some of these I am risking more than $50, so more than 0.5% on the account. As I've said in previous videos, I've decided to be a bit more dynamic with my risk per trade, so I will risk more proportionately according to how that particular entry is working recently. So if it's working better than expected or better than average, I will be risking a bit more, and if it's still working profitable but maybe perhaps not as good as other entries, I will be risking a bit less but still taking some positions because they can still be profitable. So basically this is called dynamic risk allocation. I'm trying to essentially bet more on the best entries and bet a bit less on entries that are still good but perhaps not as good as some of the others. So when you don't miss out, but if it doesn't work out you lose less. And here obviously even the better entries can lose and you lose a bit more, but it's just plus EV to bet a bit more on entries that are working really good, and this is one of them. A normal type of risk on the Dow, and also quite a normal type of risk on the UK 100 trade as well. So these are working fine, around average. This is working above average. And when we'll have an entry that is working a bit under average but still profitable recently, I will take that with a bit of a lower sizing. But looking at gold here, let's establish some sort of target. So when this entry has worked, it's returned 8 points, 9 points, 14 points, 10 points, 12 points, 9 points, 7 points. So at the very least, it's returned 7 points. So let me just quickly look at ATR here compared to other sessions. So just at the opening of London session here, we are at 2.9, let's say 3 ATR. Okay, so let's see. Friday we were a bit under this. Thursday we were pretty much the same. And Wednesday, again, pretty much the same. So it's similar conditions. And this entry has been working. So now let's just see where 7 points would take us. 7 points would take us just below previous day high. And I do think that I am supposed to go for a smaller target here, just because again, we're in an uptrend. We've been super bullish on gold. And also, there are threats of tariffs from the US administration that has been pushing gold even further up. So as you can see, we've been really strong for quite a while. This is the daily outlook. Let's look at the weekly as well. So I don't want to be shorting with huge targets as of yet. We might very well soon get a leg down, but I'm not trying to anticipate that. So I think going just below previous day high here is fine. I might consider even exiting a bit earlier if I see we just touch this and start retracing, but let's get there and see. And the UK 100 is continuing on its path. I actually should have probably paid attention, because this might have also been an add-on actually. So if we get a 5-minute close in profit, that equals the ATR on the 5-minute chart. So it's 5 ATR. And we entered at, let's see, 87.30. And we closed at exactly at 87.35. Perhaps just a bit under 5 ATR. So I guess we could have added. And to be honest, we have closed above previous day high. And we seem to be rejecting it again, but yeah, I think it just didn't qualify for an add-on. Which still should pay more attention to that. Gold is trying to cross over here, which can happen. Will be fine. Risking 61 on what has been a really good entry. Another thing that makes a case for a short here is that we've tried to go above Asia session and then retraced, but now we're trying to go back again. So let's see. The fact that we've gone below this first 15-minute bar and then we're leaving a wick below and starting to recapture the highs is not a good look. Like I said, we've been rallying so long that the shorts just aren't looking that attractive right now. If you're thinking that gold has rallied for so long and it's bound to go down and you're trying to anticipate that, I would suggest caution. Don't try to call tops. It's much easier to just wait for small retracements and go long. But here we're short mechanically, so I'll let it run, of course, as usual. This is showing quite a bit of strength, actually. If I were to add, I would do it at like half size. Let's see, 2 minutes until this bar closes as well. If it closes above, I think it does qualify for an add-on here. And I'm still gonna just target the same level. I'll bring you back. Yeah, I kind of hesitated and I kind of missed the boat here. I'm not gonna add again now. I think I'll just let the original entry do its thing. Gold is a bit undecided here. The issue I have here is that I also have a planned entry in gold off the second 15-minute bar here. So in this circumstance, I can't go long above because I'm still in a short position. So what I will do instead is I will double down on the short side if we get back to this place. But with the specification that if we do go above the second 15-minute bar here, even if I don't get stopped out, if we just go above this bar, I will delete this short order. Just trying to manage. I do believe that if we get an individual long fill or long trigger, long signal off the second 15-minute bar, I don't think I'm supposed to keep this in place, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So a bit of a slow price action here in gold, the Dow and the US indices, which makes sense, of course. Strong reaction in the DAX, but we do not have an entry until we get to complete the fifth 15-minute bar. Usually a strong close outside of a previous session is a signal in itself. That would mean a long position here, but I'm not taking that today unless I have a bit of research on it specifically. And if you look at the structure here, there is some selling pressure, some supply we're getting into here, so I still think that we're just super bullish in the DAX, and if you look at higher time frames, you'll see it easily. So again, I'm not that enamored with the short side, but if I am triggered mechanically in it, I will follow it. Not taking the second 15-minute bar in the DAX still. It's not been working that well lately, so we'll be waiting for it to improve before I take it again. So the UK 100 is once again testing this area now. Previous resistance turned support, hopefully. If we come back down and close below previous day high, and we don't seem to have strength to recover, I might close this early and not let it get all the way down, but we'll see. And we'll get to a key point in the Dow here as we are at the lows of Asia session, which is this blue rectangular here. So we might be seeing a reaction here. I've placed my order using a 5 to 6 point cushion to perhaps avoid some bad fills sometimes, but of course you can't always do that. So if we are to go back up here, I'm hoping that it just goes back up from here and doesn't raid stops lower, because that would fill me short and then price would reverse if that was the case. But of course we could just sell the previous day low. So let's see. Sadly, the UK 100 is making a run to the short side here. So what I will do instead is I will place my stop right below this second 15-minute bar. So I'm now just risking 17. And I am also going to be adding a short order at this level. And the reason for this is because the second 15-minute bar was also a trigger for today in this particular index. So what I'm doing is just placing a sell order below and a buy order above and moving the stop to my original entry to the short order of the second entry. So again, just managing it. And now I'm just letting price do its thing. If I get stopped in gold, there is an argument to be made for the long side, since the break of the second 15-minute bar to the long side is a long trigger today for gold as well. Would complicate things a bit, of course. But let's see. We'll be patient. So we unfortunately did get stopped in gold here. The question is now, do I go long? And honestly, while it's a bit risky, so we are attempting a bit of a retrace now. We have just gone over Asia session high. But this in itself is a long fill here. So I will go long and flip the switch here, deleting the short order, because they are individual entries, and if both fail, then they just fail, and that's that really. Risking 67 because this is an even more probable entry. A better entry, I mean. And we are at all-time highs, so let's see again. 10 points, 7 points, 12 points, 9 points, 8 points, 8 points. So let me just see what 8 points looks like here. Okay. Let's go like 7.7 points. And risking 67 to make 91, was it? 93. Okay. And what's interesting here is that we did get filled here on the add-on now. So this is off the second 15-minute bar. So I will delete the short order. So the stop for the first is 17. Stop for the second is 41. And for the second we will target higher because it's a different entry for the second entry here. So we've made 15, 21, 13, 16, 19, 30, 19, 18, 25. So let's go in the middle of that. Let's go for like 18 points. That should be fine. Yeah. So we did get a mechanical add-on on the UK 100. Hoping to get just a bit lucky here now. And at least get to the first TP. But we are essentially risking how much I would risk for one trade. Or just a bit more. I'm risking like $60. And I have double the positions. So I think that's nice. And we did escape a bad fill in the Dow. As you can see, we perfectly double bottomed with the Asia session. And this is why the cushion is so important. Had I just placed my sell order right at the low of the first 15-minute bar, we would have gotten filled short. And we would be getting stopped out now. So let's see, we look to be in a range in the Dow, but if we get a long fill here, I will be very confident in it. And I do think we're getting a long fill here. So I'll bring you back for that. I've gone long in the DAX here. Probably should have waited for the 15-minute bar to completely follow my mechanical entry, but I would probably do that as well. However, I do think that this is a very good price action setup. And I'm just risking 28 here. So I'm just putting the stop below, or right in the middle of Asia session, right below this bar here. And I am thinking this may very well be a retest of Asia highs before we continue higher. If that is the case, I'm placing a target here for $90. So not quite the top of New York session from Friday, but close to the top. And generally speaking, when we close this strongly above Asia session, we will continue that rally, usually immediately, but even if we retrace, that is still favored. So I did want to go along here just at the highs of Asia session. Now we are retracing a bit lower, which is fine. Again, this is a small risk for high reward. So I think this is totally plus EV according to my experience and research with the DAX. So I'm fine with this trade. And I will also wait for the completion of the 15-minute bar, which is a planned mechanical entry I have for today. Looking at the gold, sadly it's not really doing much. And it is still trying to go back into Asia range here, so it might be that both our entries in gold get stopped out today for the morning session. It would be unfortunate since we've also taken them in a bit higher sizing because both these entries have been performing reasonably well lately. But that is something we take into account when we enter these positions. So if we do get stopped out, it's fine. We just got filled in, or we almost got filled in the Dow, but not quite. So still waiting for that. Bit of a slow moving morning if we look at ATR again. The previous sessions weren't showing properly. Okay, so let's see beginning of London session on Friday in the Dow. That's pretty much the same, around 16, 18 ATR. Let's see Thursday. Yeah, so this is it's quite normal. And we have made money in these conditions. So yeah, no issues with following this entry here. And we did get filled now. So deleting the short order, placing the stop exactly in its spot here. So risking $42. The fact that we're immediately retracing after getting filled is never great. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So last times that this entry has worked, it's returned 40 points, 42 points, 55, 70, 55, 35, 77, 100, 100, and 54. So I think around 50 is the most likely. 40 to 50, let's see. It's not the most enticing target, actually, just risking 42 for 40, but I would respect it. So let's just go 40 for 42, 50 points. This does have place to run, so perhaps if I see a strong close above Asia session, perhaps I'm gonna be enticed to even add. I might add at a lower size and let that run and just keep the original target in place and let the second entry run to perhaps, if it wants to run throughout the day. I do think that this sell-off on Friday was a bit sort of end of the week, a bit reactionary to an FP sell-off. I don't really place that much value in it. Yes, we have rejected from the all-time high here, but I do think that it's very likely we take another stab at it. So I'm not really too worried. And I could very well see price go back all the way up to previous day high here. So with that in mind, we do have quite a few entries now, and still waiting for the 50-minute bar on the DAX. We do look to have some sort of reaction here, which is nice, but let's see if it has legs. UK 100 is slowly trying to go back up. Let's see. As usual, patience is the name of the game. So I think I'll pause you for a bit longer now, unless something dramatic happens and I get a stop or a TP quickly. I will just pause you and bring you back when we do have some movement and do have something exciting to show you. So pausing for now. So I'm actually bringing you back here quite early. Everything is in profit right now, which is, quite rare. It looks nice, certainly. And we are getting close, timidly, perhaps, but getting close to first TP in the UK 100. It would be ideal to just hit this, to get a win under our belts, and avoid the scenario where everything just reverses against us. Of course, that is always a possibility that we have to take into account. We do have quite a bit of risk on the board right now. But just have to stay positive, of course. Day has started with quite a meaty loss, let's say, but obviously on an entry that has been working well, so there is good reason for that. And yeah, I'll wait for something to happen here before bringing you back now. We are having a retrace, of course, now. So I've jinxed it. No longer in profit on all of them. This is generally why I don't like to sit on the live PNL view. I sit on it more now while I'm recording, just because I know viewers like to watch this live. But generally I just go on the articles tab here. And it's just something neutral that I don't care about. And you don't see those numbers going up and down every second. If you see that this affects you and makes you take rash decisions. Watching this makes you exit positions earlier, not to be afraid of strong reversals, and whatever influence it has on you, if it has any type of influence, even if it's euphoria, that is also bad. So if this generally gets you to feel too much emotion in any way, it's generally not a good thing to leave it open. So we have had a retracement here in the UK 100, unfortunately, but it happens. We were just 4 points away from TP. Let's see. Obviously, if we do go back down below previous day high, we will be very likely stopped out, but still quite a bit far off that point. So let's be positive. Gold is marching on, of course. You always prefer to be filled long mechanically in something when you're in such a strong uptrend, but research showed that shorts were paying off as well on this first 15-minute bar entry, so I'm gonna follow it regardless. Okay, enough talk. I'll just let things run now, and I'll probably switch from this tab, and we'll show you. We'll show it to you again later, of course. So the 15-minute bar is completed, and it is triggering short, which puts me in a bit of a weird spot, but this entry would have been a lower size entry according to my dynamic risk management. So I think I'll just let this long run its course. I do think there's still a good chance that buyers step in here. Obviously, it's not looking as good, but I think it's better to just not do anything here and just let things run their course. You could just go right below this opening candle and buyers could step in strongly. So let's see, that was looking okay-ish. UK 100 is a bit shaky now, but let's see. So as usual, my motto is be patient, and when you're unsure, do nothing. So I'm just gonna let things run here. Sadly, gold is also doing a bit of a retrace here, but I wouldn't say it's something to worry about at this point. We'll let things run and see where the chips fall. So a little update here, I stepped away for a bit, came back. Sadly, we do look to have been stopped out just at this retrace here. Very unfortunate, obviously stopped of both positions, and then we just rallied back up. That will happen sometimes. It's just part of the game. You have to take it on the chin and move on, and do not let it affect you. We also got stopped out in the DAX here, and we double bottomed at Asia lows. I had placed an order to buy right below, but it didn't get filled. So I'm just thinking now, if we close here strongly on this 5-minute bar, I will buy here with a look to go all the way back up. And I'm also looking at this Dow here and just hoping we don't double top here as well. Not that far off from take profit here. And we do kind of need to hit some take profit now, because it hasn't been that easy of a morning. So 4 losses. Again, that will happen, especially with mechanical entries, so you have to do very good risk management. So this is why I always try not to risk more than I should. and my employee dynamic risk allocation, where I risk a bit more on entries that have been working very well lately, and risking a bit less on entries that are still good but perhaps haven't worked as good. So in about 20 seconds we will close this 5-minute bar, and unless we get a retrace here, it has wicked a bit but not that much. So I do think that I am going to go long here now. Again. Gonna place this just below, a few points below. So I'm risking $30. And as a target, I do think that, again, if we look at the higher time frames, we are gonna make another attempt at the highs here. So I could go all the way, but I'm not gonna go exactly all the way. I'm gonna go just a bit lower. Somewhere around here, I would be very happy with that. I think that's quite likely. If we do just show a bit of continuation here and a bit of strength. And gold is close to hitting TP here. We're, let's see, like $9 away from TP here. And obviously we're at all-time highs here. Absolute all-time highs. Look at this day's burst here. Yeah, very unfortunate about the UK trade, but that's going to happen sometimes. Again, you just have to take it as it is and do not let something like this get you emotional, get you to revenge trade, get you in a bad mood. And I think I'll just take the $80 here on gold. It's been lingering now a bit at that level. Obviously, you can still keep going, look at the daily. But if we look at daily moves upwards, this is kind of the biggest of this entire run. Perhaps only this is just as big. So I think that it's probably a good place to just take some profit and not wait for an extra $10 or $13, whatever it was. Take some bit more risk off because it has not been a good morning, and obviously if I believed that there was a good chance that we went even higher in gold, I would hold it or even raise the TP or add. But I just think that it's okay to take a breather here, and we'll see. I do have some gold entries for later as well, even right before the US session and even in the US session. So I have 2 more entries on gold for today. Plus quite a bit of entries in the Dow, NASDAQ, SPX, DAX again in the US session. So yeah. I will let this short order here still, if we ever get there. And I'll let these run now into the lunch break, and I'll bring you back in after the lunch break, so like 2 hours from now. Of course, it's going to be instant for you, but just to give you an idea of how much time will pass. So about 2 hours, unless I'm still at the computer and we just get a TP hit here, but I won't wait for it now. So I'll pause you here and let's see what happens. Back from my break, and let me fill you in on what I've done here. So the original Dow trade hit TP here. I also added to the position right about here, because as I said earlier in the session, if I see strength above Asia session, in case we perhaps see the Dow rallying throughout the day, I do want to have some exposure. So I went long here. The stop is near the lows of Asia session, but not all the way. I'm risking 29 and targeting 80. So it's quite ambitious, but I'm letting it run. And I closed the DAX long here, so the DAX long from the lows, because I had already added twice. So we closed strongly here on this candle. I decided to add. This was the fill. Then immediately we closed again, quite a strong 5-minute candle, and I decided to add again. But then when it started ranging here, I decided to just get out of the original entry and just keep these small add-ons, targeting this area here. So I'm targeting $34 and $45 and risking $22 and $21. So I'm going to let these run. If I become convinced that this resistance here will hold, I might get out earlier, but let's see. Looking at gold, I think I exited at the right moment. We could of course still go upwards here, but I explained at that time why I felt like this was a good spot to exit. Looking at, oops, let me just remove the previous trades. Just looking at the daily outlook, this candle was pretty much the biggest out of all of them, and we haven't even finished the day. Of course, we can just keep going upwards, but I thought that it was a good spot to exit, and it looks to have been so far. Very unfortunate about the UK 100 trade, of course. Obviously, my original stop loss, which would have been here, was not touched. I perhaps went a bit too high with the original stop loss. I should have probably just kept it to the half of the original entry bar, but then again, I think this was quite unlucky to get snapped like that, so I can't really complain too much about it. It will happen sometimes, as I've said in the past, so just gotta take that on the chin. I think nonetheless that was a good recovery here so far from what started as a pretty poor morning. But again, with mechanical entries, you have to be prepared. This will happen sometimes. What's important to remember is that if you have a strategy that you believe in, that you have proven to yourself that it works, then it doesn't matter if you take 4 losses in a row, 5 losses in a row, whatever. Because that will happen sometimes, so you just have to be ready. And psychologically speaking, not let it affect you and just continue with your plan. So that's what I did here. And I even got to add completely within my rules. So that was nice. I will finish the video for now. Obviously, with letting these run, there's a long way to go. If I see something at one point that will tell me that perhaps the move has ended, I will exit early, but generally speaking, I plan on holding these. ATR is really low though, so there's no volatility, there's no real news coming out today. So except for some impromptu news from the US administration, tariff-related news, those can always spike things up. We can just keep grinding upwards here. I think I'm risking quite a little, so I'm fine with holding most of these, but we'll see. So I will be back for the US session. If you like this video and this type of content, please like and subscribe. I try to post daily, and I use mostly mechanical triggers, something that you can easily learn to use yourself, and pass funded accounts or even use them on your normal accounts. So hope to see you for the US session. Thank you and goodbye.